And I have a really good one of those for you as well that
Awesome.
I just remembered.
Awesome.
It's from the same time period. It's a little bit newer, and it involves the Christmas spirit. Going back to Spurgeon, right? Saint Nicholas, who is well famous for becoming Santa Claus today. But the original Saint Nicholas was a real person. He did give to the poor, and he was a very generous, kind man. And the original Saint Nicholas died a normal death. But in the Catholic Church at that time, they had to make them do miracles for them to be considered saints.
Yeah.
And so they have two miracles associated with Saint Nicholas, and they are both ridiculous. But I think one of them is just stupid. The one of them is actually probably based on a true story, and I actually think the true story is cooler than the made up story. Well, let's go ahead and do the two of them. The first that's utterly ridiculous is after he died, he oozed green blood, which people used to wipe themselves and cure themselves of diseases. I'm not one to question a miracle, but if you are burying somebody and they start oozing green blood, that's an alien or something, and you need to put that in the ground fast.
Yeah, Vulcan or miracle, either one. Yes.
Set it on fire. I don't wipe yourself with it because I don't think what happens next is normally good. So I don't want to question the miracles by the Catholic Church, but I don't fully believe in that one. And the second one is utterly ridiculous, but it's actually probably based on a somewhat true story. And I like the true story better than the ridiculous version. It goes like this. St. Nicholas was traveling somewhere and he goes into a town. He goes into this like tavern / butcher place, and he eats a meal. It's a great meal, great food. But in the middle of the meal, this kid comes running out from the basement. He looks haggard. He looks rough. He looks horrifying. And the kid's like, this guy is killing kids in the basement. And they all run downstairs. And oh my goodness, in the basement, there are children that have been executed and chopped up. And the butcher is doing this to them. And it's terrible. And hopefully you don't have a lot of kids listening to this show because this got really dark. Santa Claus just took a dark road. But St. Nicholas prays over the children, these body parts everywhere, and they all come back together and the children get up and they're alive and they arrest the butcher and everything's great. And that's his other miracle associated with him. And I'm not saying I doubt it, but I've got some questions before you're going to sell me on that story. And it's completely, utterly, obviously just that's not how anything works.
I mean,
but what's crazy is it's actually
what was the butcher selling then?
Yeah, what did Santa eat beforehand? Like, there's a lot of deep, dark questions here into this story that I don't think we want to know the answer to. I leave out cookies for Santa. What am I supposed to be leaving out for him?
That's right.
But with the actual story, it was probably like this. Nicholas was traveling through a town when three men were accused of murder of doing a murder. And these three men were about to be executed when Nicholas, risking his own life, not with miraculous green blood or superpowers, basically runs up on the execution stand and goes, "Hold up. What is the evidence these guys actually did the murder?" And the judge, kind of recognizing Nicholas as an important person, knows him a little bit, goes, "Well, this one guy over here was their business partner and said they did it." He goes, "So you're going to kill these three men based on the word of one man? Have you done any investigation? Have you done any double checking?" And they're kind of like, "Well, no." "Have you even found a body, that they supposedly have murdered?" And they're like, "Well, no, we haven't." And he goes, "Well, why don't you do those things first before you kill these guys?" And they began doing the investigation. And the next day, the fourth guy, the business partner that had ratted them out, comes to St. Nicholas and he goes, "I feel terrible. Thank you so much for stopping me. I was lying. We were having a business deal go bad, and I thought I could just get rid of them by accusing them of murder. But I couldn't live with myself if I had done that. You just kept me from doing like the worst thing I could possibly do." The three men were let out, and all is well that ends well. So in a way, St. Nicholas did probably save three lives. But the real story is, in my opinion, actually more heroic than the weird children coming back to life version of the story. That is actually the one that got enshrined into his miracle Hall of Fame there. So I wonder if the same with the necromancer or sorcerer thing, if there was maybe a grain of something there that became its own wild tale, or maybe it happened as it is. I don't know.
I just feel like the more that I hear about St. Nicholas, the more that I think his mythology is undersold by all the things, things, punching Arius for heresy, necromancy, and then Detective Santa Claus or Lawyer Santa Claus. Yeah. I mean, Santa S. Claus Esquire is pretty awesome.
we're supposed to not believe that the Arius thing happened. The
Right,
history
right.
of that came later, and sometimes I just look at a story and go, "It's so good as is." But don't give me the facts. Like, I will tell you that this is probably a made up story, like I did. But I'm also going to tell you, I like that version, and the original Santa Claus version is actually even more amazing because he slaps Arius across the face, goes to jail, and then he prays, God, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have slapped him in the face. I don't want to accidentally engender sympathy for the cause of the Aryans. I got
There you
out of the
go.
line, God. They were talking smack about you, Lord. And you know how I get upset when that happens. And then they had declothed him, they had derobed him, like not he wasn't naked, but they didn't have any of his priestly garb on, basically. Well, when he like looked up after praying, all of it was sitting there. So he put it on. The jailers came by, saw him in his garb. They went and got the guards. And they basically were like, should we let him in? And they said, well, he's already in his garb and no one gave it to him but God. And they're like, well, if God wants him in, we got to let him in. Now, did that probably happen? Probably not. But boy, it's a great story. I really like that version of it. It's kind of cool, right? Really, really, really redemptive of it. But I agree with you. I think the mythos of Saint Nicholas the Man is actually a lot better than the flying reindeer fat guy that he ended up becoming.
Yes, come on, horror people! You're mythologizing and making horror out of the wrong part of the awesomeness of Santa Claus. So.